Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new week and welcome to a brand new edition of what we call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists and different events that have impacted hip hop culture and also the artists and events that still continue to impact hip hop culture today. I am your host, Conscious Kurt, in the flesh as always, and my co host needs no introduction, but fuck it. He's going to go ahead and give you one anyway. Break it down for him.
Yo, what's the deal, Conscious Kurt? How you been, man?
Been pretty well, bro. Like I said, still enjoying this beautiful ass fall weather here in the ATL. Best place I've ever experienced fall, hands down, even better than New York. And yeah, right after we finish recording, I'm gonna go outside, go out for a little walk, and yeah, take in this fresh air because it is some beautiful ass shit to take in.
Well, yeah, the weather has been great over the last few weeks, so hopefully you get to enjoy it, once we're done recording.
Let's get into some hip hop news. As this past Friday, we had the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we had two special hip hop inductees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And those two were Missy Elliott, being the first female rapper to be inducted at that, and also DJ Kool Herc. And it's very fitting commemorating the 50 years of hip hop that DJ Kool Herc went in, considering that he's the founding father of hip hop. It was great to see him go in. He was very emotional with his speech. He even cried throughout most of it. We'll get into Missy in a minute, but I just wanted to touch on Kool Herc real fast. Basically, he's the dude that ran the very first hip hop party. He was the one who hosted it. August 11th, 1973, that was DJ Kool Herc. So in a sense, he is that founding father of hip hop because people credit the day hip hop was born to that party on that night. And without DJ Kool Herc, we probably would not have hip hop today.
Yo, much props to DJ Kool Herc. Without him, we wouldn't have this genre that we enjoy, this culture that we enjoy called hip hop. So thank God him and his sister put together that party in 1973, and look where the genre and the culture has grown over the years to where we're at now. So shouts out to him. Without him, I don't know where we would be right now.
Yeah, hip hop has literally saved people's lives. Because if you think about the essence of hip hop, the main reason why people got into it was so that they could stay out of trouble and stay out of like doing negative shit. And basically, without hip hop, who knows where a lot of the artists who made it would even be right now.
Yeah, hip hop has done a lot to keep people off the streets, keep them, doing other things, DJing, rapping, producing, breakdancing, all those different elements of hip hop. So without hip hop being created, who knows what some of these people would have gotten into? Maybe they would have got locked up. They could have got caught up into the drug game and got killed or whatnot. So shouts out to Kool Herc for creating hip hop and creating an avenue for people to express themselves. And
Yeah, DJ Kool Herc also coined the term B-boys and B-girls, and also pretty much what would be known as breakdancing later on. That was pretty much something he came up with the term for initially. And also without him, there would literally be no Grandmaster Flash and also no Africa Bambaataa because the two of them followed their whole careers and pretty much adopted their whole style in general from DJ Kool Herc. And because of that and everything he started for hip hop, you can't help but think the dude deserves to be celebrated the way he's being celebrated. And I'm happy that he got to have that moment, considering how emotional he was during his speech. You could definitely tell how much this means to him. And also, with it being the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, it was the perfect time for him to be inducted. And I'm glad he got that induction. Shout out to DJ Kool Herc. Thank you for hip hop. Thank you for creating this platform for us. And you will not ever be forgotten for it.
yo, much props once again to DJ Kool Herc. Just thinking about it's a 50 years of hip hop, and yes, he has been within the culture. He has been praised, and if people been throwing him his flowers this year because it's the 50 years of hip hop. But it's good to see that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also acknowledged him for creating a genre, because it's great that hip hop, we acknowledge Kool Herc and what appreciate everything that he means to the culture, but to see people outside of the culture appreciate him for what he's done and how he's changed the landscape of music and our culture. So it's just dope to see him be praised and to get his flowers while he's still here to enjoy them and to reap the rewards of his hard work. So shouts out to him and his family, and thank you for everybody that attended that night on 1973.
Yeah, the founding father of hip hop. May his spirit live on forever long after he's gone. And also on that same night, another special person was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Missy motherfucking Elliott. the very first female rapper to ever get this induction and ever get this honor. And I can't think of anybody any more deserving than her. We talked about her on the podcast several weeks ago, and she's personally on my female Mount Rushmore of hip hop. A fucking pioneer, innovator, one of the dopest artists, male or female, that has ever hit the game, period. And congratulations to her for her induction. Congratulations to her for the great career she had. And hip hop and the music business in general is better off because we had Missy Elliott in it. And I mean that shit.
Yeah, Missy Elliott is an icon, an innovator. I'm surprised that she's the first female to get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I thought somebody else would have been inducted before her, but nevertheless, it shouts out to Missy for being inducted. It's not like she doesn't deserve it at all. She definitely deserves it. She's one of the best females that's came out in the last 30 years with her singing, her rapping, her producing, her writing skills. So she's just all around talented artist, and her influence is, you can see it today in the female artists that are coming out and try to be creative. So shouts out to her for inspiring a lot of females, to get into this hip hop culture and to create songs. It's definitely long overdue for females to get their shine. So I'm glad during the 50 years of hip hop, we're at least starting to see that females are getting recognized for their contributions to the culture. So Missy's breaking down the barrier for some of these women. So hope to see some other females get their shine in the years coming.
Yeah, for damn sure. And I like the fact that Queen Latifah was the one who inducted her.
Yeah, that's dope. The Queen got to induct another Queen. So shouts out to Queen Latifah, another icon, which I'm surprised she wasn't inducted by now already. But hopefully with the next few years, maybe she'll be the next one.
Yeah, a lot of them deserve to be inducted. Latifah, MC Light, Salt and Pepper definitely deserve one. Lil Kim, Foxy Brown, Eve. Well, Eve, I don't think is even eligible until next year anyway, but you get my drift. Yeah, it probably should have happened before Missy, but I'm just happy that finally a woman got the honor, and Missy is definitely deserving of being that first woman. Because, bro, I was even watching a lot of her videos this morning, from Super Duper Fly to Get Your Freak On, She's a Bitch, Hot Boy, Work It, Gossip Folks, all that shit. Yeah, just the list goes on and on from the amount of classic, like crazy ass videos she's had over the years and crazy ass songs that she's had over the years. Honestly, one of my favorite Missy tracks, believe it or not, is that Takeaway song from the third album, the one with Genuine.
Oh, and Tweet, I think Tweet was on there too. Yeah, that was a good R&B song. That was dope.
Yeah, pretty much the whole video became a tribute to Aaliyah because it came out like around the time that she died. But yeah, they pulled
She
that shit
passed
off
away.
well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a dope song. Now that I think about it, I remember it came out like around 2001,
Yeah,
2002, so around that time.
when Aaliyah died.
Yeah, around that time. So, yeah, Missy, like we've already said, man, she's definitely deserving of this status. But I want to see the hip hop Hall of Fame open up, and I read that it's going to be open up. It got pushed back to 2025. I would like to see the hip hop Hall of Fame open up so that way we can shine light on some of our, the pioneers in hip hop, and rather than waiting for like the rock and roll or other genres to acknowledge us. I want us to make the hip hop Hall of Fame a platform where we can actually recognize, our forefathers and the pioneers of this hip hop culture on our platform and on another platform and another genre. So that's something I would like to see, hopefully, once the hip hop Hall of Fame is open in a few years.
Yeah, I fucks with that idea. One thing that really got me was how also Missy got emotional during her speech too, about how like far the reach of hip hop goes, and how like honored she was to get the induction and whatnot. Yeah, you could definitely tell by like her reaction and all that like that shit really meant a lot to her. And that's what I love about, people like her and also Kool Herc, is that you can tell that this shit means a lot to them. Like this shit wasn't just a career or just some shit for them to be famous and make money. Like they don't just do this as a career. They don't just do this shit as work. They live that shit. They are that shit. And I
Yeah,
like
you
to
can
see that
tell.
kind of energy celebrated.
Yeah, you can tell Missy's putting a lot of energy into her craft. She's one of the best ever when it comes to being creative with her choreography and the videos. How forward they were. Kind of remind me of Busta Rhymes. If you can want to compare Missy to like a male, I would say Busta Rhymes would be like an equivalent if you're looking at it like as far as the way that the influence and how creative they were, and and how they were. So shouts out to to Missy for being an icon and putting on for the females and being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, shining light for female hip hop. Great to see. Congratulations to Missy Elliott. Congratulations to DJ Kool Herc and everybody else who was inducted this past weekend. And it's nice to see hip hop be celebrated the way that it was, and hope to see more celebrations like that in years to come.
Yeah, not just the 50 years of hip hop. I know it's popular right now, it's trending, but well, let's celebrate 51 years, 52, 53, and so on. It's not just the 50 years. Let's keep it going and keep shining light on some of these, people who impacted the culture.
Amen to that. And also getting into something very like essence of hip hop related. On the Bootleg Kev podcast, Glasses Malone was on there, and he was basically talking about the fact that artists like Kanye West and Drake, while they are talented, while they are dope, they're not really hip hop because of the fact that they don't come from the inner city, they don't come from like the street life. He basically said that hip hop, by its very essence, is street artistic urban expression, and because of the fact those two don't come from that part of society, they're not really considered hip hop per se. What do you think of that breakdown of it?
I kind of get where Glasses Malone is coming from, but he's still wrong. Saying that Drake and Kanye are not hip hop. They are hip hop just because they don't come from where you come from, or they don't come from underprivileged background. I still feel like they still have contributed to the hip hop culture, and the way that especially Kanye, I would say Kanye more than anything he's produced, he's rapped, and he's came up paying his dues, going through, starting at the bottom and working his way all the way up to the top of the game. So I don't see how Kanye could not be considered hip hop. I don't get that.
I think maybe he means it more as in like the way he grew up and the way he carries himself, and maybe the way he talks and things along those lines. I think maybe that's what he was trying to get at by that.
Yeah, I get that, but just because somebody is educated or somebody wants to dress in polo or they want to dress like a more I would say more clean way rather than like the raw and rugged way like most hip hop or rappers would dress. I wouldn't say that he's not hip hop. Just for him starting out as a producer and just the way that he came up freestyling and spitting bars for these people just to get himself into the game and to be seen by the likes of Jay-Z, Dame Dash, and others. So I don't understand how, Kanye is not considered a hip hop artist, or he's not somebody who helped contribute to the culture. He's definitely, come a long way and done a lot for our culture.
Yeah, he also went on to say he considers Eminem hip hop because of the fact that Eminem came from the bottom, like really came from like hard times and really came from like a sketchy neighborhood. So he said like in that sense, Eminem would be more considered hip hop than somebody like Drake and also somebody like Kanye. Like I said, I get where he's coming from. I know what he's trying to say, but I'll never take anybody's flowers away from them who, like you said, contributed to the culture and contributed to the genre the way somebody like Kanye did and were able to make history and become the big stars that they did at that. So regardless of if their music is your preference or what you may think defines hip hop to your standards, you still have to give props where it's due. And with those two, I still give them their props, whether I'm a fan of their music nowadays or not. I'll never say that they're not hip hop, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I see what like you said, I see what Glasses Malone where he's coming from when he says Eminem is hip hop versus Drake. When it comes to Drake and Kanye, these are artists who they're so big at this point that they're not even you can't box them in just a hip hop as you can't just box them in as a hip hop artist. Their reach has expanded just the realm of hip hop. It expands to pop, and into also to different genres. Just look at Drake. He's dabbled into reggaeton, Afro beats. He's done pop. He's done different types of different cultures. I mean, he's even came out with an album doing like EDM type of music. So Drake is at another level, like where he's not considered. He does hip hop. He does dabble in hip hop, but he also dabbles in other genres. Not just hip hop. So I do get where he's coming from in that sense, where he's not just strictly a hip hop artist. I feel like Drake has gotten once you get to a certain point, you may not be considered hip hop. Just like if you take a look at, let's say, Taylor Swift, for example, when she came out, she was considered a country artist, but she's like the biggest artist in the world right now, and they don't even consider her country anymore. She's considered a pop artist. So that's kind of how I look at Drake and Kanye. Yes, they just start out as hip hop artists, but they've gotten so big and they've made so many hits that they've transcended into different genres where they're considered pop artists and not just boxed in as a hip hop artist anymore. So that's just my take on it. But I do understand a little bit where Glasses Malone is coming from. But at the same time, these artists, they did start as hip hop. They just may evolve into other, other ways and into other genres. But when they first started out, and their foundation was based in hip hop.
Yeah, I just think it goes back to the whole, mentality of like, oh, the way I came up, it was this way. The way I came up, it was this standard. It went by like these rules. And if anybody else who comes up in another era like does it differently and does it by like a different set of rules, then it's not the traditional way that in somebody's mind, like from the old school, that it should be. So that's kind of the vibe I really got from him. Like, oh, back in my day it was like this. Back in my day it was like that. And if it's anything different than that, then it doesn't fit the definition or fit the description of what I think it is. So I guess I see what he means by that, but I mean, I don't agree with him 100%. And I get it. But the one thing I will say is that I do think to really be hip hop and like be about hip hop, it's not really something that you necessarily do as music or something you do as a career. It's like I said a few minutes ago when I was talking about Missy and Kool Herc. It's something that you live, it's the way you think, and it's just an overall way of life.
Yeah, hip hop is a lifestyle. It's not just boxed into a genre of music or rapping or something like that. It's an everyday lifestyle, from the way that you dress, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you talk, just the way that you are.
What you stand
Just
for.
that just hip hop. What you stand for, just it's just hip hop. That's why we say culture. That's hip hop culture, because it's just a way of life. It's just how we live, and it's what we do. Yeah, he does come off as like one of the older heads coming down on like the newer heads, like the new school cats. But at the end of the day, the genre and culture evolve. So like there's some things with the culture and the genre that right now that I don't all fully agree with, but I understand that things evolve and things change over time, and it's not for me to. I'm not a gatekeeper. I can't say, yo, this is what goes and this can't goes. Things are going to evolve how they evolve, and you just gotta appreciate that hip hop is still alive and kicking and moving forward, and it hasn't stopped. It could have stopped in the 80s. It could have stopped in the 90s with the government cracking on the lyrics and whatnot. So there's a lot of reasons why hip hop shouldn't be here. We should just be appreciative that hip hop is still around and that we're able to enjoy, even if it may not be exactly what we envisioned it to be or how we want it to be. We just got to appreciate the artists that have contributed to the culture and help push the culture forward.
Yeah, and more than anything else, not everybody has to be the same. Everybody is allowed to be different and do their own thing. If everybody did it all the same way it was 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it would be boring as fuck. That's why I say we need more variety. Whether we like some of that variety, we don't like that variety, we do need that variety and we do need that balance regardless. And if there's an artist, if there's a particular style you're not a fan of, or if it's not your cup of tea, then you don't have to fuck with it. You don't have to listen to it. But you
Exactly.
don't have to tell other people that they can't like it or that they can't listen to it. There's nothing wrong with variety and there's nothing wrong with being different.
Yeah, and just look at all the artists that Kanye and Drake have inspired over the years, just the way that they are. So we can't hate on them. Just let them do what they do. And if you don't like what they represent or their music, just don't listen to it. It's simple as that. There's millions and millions of songs on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or wherever you listen to your music. Listen to something else. You don't have to listen to them. But it just comes off of, as like you said, that they're coming off like, yo, I'm old and this is how we did it back in my time, and we don't fuck with the new wave.
Hey, and I'm not gonna lie, I was guilty of that mentality myself a couple years ago, but I just learned that like I'm not gonna like every single last song or every single last artist or every single last style, and that's my prerogative not to like it. But I don't have to like shit on them or come down on them for it. I just don't have to listen to it or give it that kind of attention. But if somebody else likes it, if somebody else is into it, that's their prerogative. They have the right to be into it, and I don't have to, argue with them about being into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let people like what they like, as long as they're not hurting anyone, as long as they're not fucking with anybody else. Just let people enjoy the shit that they enjoy.
Amen. Let people live. Let them people do them. Focus on what you got going on, and let them do what they do. Continue doing what you do.
All right, so switching gears, let's get into this whole J. Cole and Soulja Boy bullshit that's going on. So, in a recent episode of Lil Yachty and Mitch's podcast, A Safe Place, J. Cole was being interviewed, and he was basically talking about how initially he wasn't a fan of Soulja Boy when he heard Soulja Boy tell him back, like, when he was in college. And he just said, like, to himself, like, yo, people are rocking with this. Like, people that actually like this shit. Like, no, this shit is not cool. And I'm sure a lot of us felt that way too when we first heard Soulja Boy tell him. Hell, even our own father said that when I watched the video with him for the first time when I also saw it. Yeah, my father literally said, this is the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
I remember that story. You never told me that.
Yeah, this is like literally when I first moved to New York back in '07. Yeah, when I first got there and I got to grandma's house, BET was on as it always was when we would go over there. And yeah, the Soulja Boy Tell Him video came on. It was the first time I ever saw it. Also the first time probably my dad ever saw it. And then yeah, my dad just said at the end of it, this is the worst song I've ever heard in my life.
That's funny. That's funny.
And I agreed with him. I literally agreed with him.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that song either when it came out, but I understand what J. Cole was trying to say. That yeah, and it kind of goes back to our last conversation with the Kanye and Drake being hip hop. Is you may not fuck with the genre or the type of music that they're making, but you have to respect their hustle and respect, somebody has created something that people are gravitating to. It may not be for you, but there was a lot of people dancing and doing the Soulja Boy, the you doing all that at parties and just messing around. Just a lot of people were just doing the Soulja Boy dance. So you can't just knock somebody for creating something that you don't like. Some people, it's not for you. There's stuff for everybody that just may not happen to be for you.
Yeah, and he kind of touched on that like later in the interview. J. Cole said that while initially he didn't like Soulja Boy Tell Him and he wasn't a fan, like he had a realization later on and like that realization basically told him like, yo, you're really just being a hater. Like you like this shit. Because basically like when it would come on like at parties, when he was in college, he would jam to it and he would like, wild out to it. So he eventually came to that realization where he just said like, yo, you like this shit. And that's like when he kind of eased off on him and like said like, yo, I like this. It's cool.
Yeah, we all had that moment where like we say, "Yo, like I really hate this song," or "Yo, turn this shit off." But then you're at a party, you're in a vibe, you're with your friends, and all of a sudden you're jamming to the song that you said that you hated. So we've all been there, and like we said, you can't really hate on Soulja Boy for doing what he wanted to do. He was one of the first rappers to go viral, and he's still making money to this day. He's still around. He's still somewhat relevant. I feel like he did misunderstand what J. Cole was saying. I think he only caught the headlines and maybe saw some comments or some replies online. But I don't think he caught the whole interview because he gave J. Cole some backlash. When if you watch the whole video, J. Cole is actually giving him praise for first not agreeing with the type of music that he makes, but coming to an understanding and realizing his greatness and his genius towards the end. So I don't understand where Soulja Boy is coming from with his negative energy.
Yeah, and speaking of that negative energy, this is what Soulja Boy had to say in a tweet. Niggas always hating on me, nothing new. Him and Big Sean was on some hating shit, but fuck them, I'm still lit. And then he went on to say, "I, bruh, don't speak on me," tagging J. Cole. And he said, "I'm not Lil Pump, Drake, or none of these rap niggas, on God."
Yeah, like I said, he didn't understand what the hell. He didn't watch the whole video because I've seen this happen plenty of times where people will just see a headline or they'll just see like a 10-second clip and they don't get the full context of what was being said in the interview or the lead up or the questions before and after. I feel like they just take like a 10-second clip, a 30-second clip and run with that and not get the full story. So I would advise Soulja Boy to go back and watch the whole entire interview because actually J. Cole is giving him props. It's not really like trying to downplay him or hate on him. He said that he was hating on him, but he came to a realization that how much of a great artist he was and how inspiring he was, and he gave him his props for that. It's not like he's coming at him in a negative light, but it looks like to me Soulja Boy just didn't watch the whole video.
And if he did watch the whole video and that was his response, wow, bro. Just another reason not to like the dude.
Yeah, so I don't get it. Hopefully he goes back and checks out that video and links, hits J. Cole up and apologizes for for coming out of line.
Yeah, but just for some reason, him and a lot of like new school rappers, they just seem really sensitive when like somebody says they don't like their shit.
Yeah, I think it was mainly people commenting and probably was saying, "Oh, J. Cole's talking crap," and he probably just went with that and then just replied really quick. I don't think he really looked into it.
But not even just that, just in general. Like, but even if somebody like else like said that, oh, I'm just not a fan of the song, it's not my cup of tea. I don't really fuck with Soulja Boy like that. Like, even if somebody would just say something like that, I could see him like giving a similar response to the one he just gave with J. Cole.
Yeah, he does come for people that talk about him online or whatnot. So he does have a history of doing that.
It's not even just his music I'm not a fan of. It's just the way he carries himself and the way he reacts like this that I'm also not a fan of. That, yeah, it just turns me off even more.
Yeah, I don't get it. He has all the money that he need, in the world, and he's a successful artist. He, like I said, was one of the first rappers to go viral. So like, why you worried about what people are saying about you online, man? Just keep moving, enjoy your life, and do you, man. Just forget what everybody's saying online. Like, it doesn't matter. You're still successful. You still got your accolades. You still got your money in the bank. So like, what does it matter what people are saying? It wouldn't matter to me, at least.
Yeah, and look, I wasn't a fan of Soulja Boy. Tell him myself, I'm still not a fan of it really, but I give credit where it's due. The dude made a lot of noise. He was the first rapper to go viral. He was a marketing genius, and he was doing this shit at what, 17, 18 years old? Yo,
Yeah, it's
that's,
mad young.
yeah, you got to give somebody their flowers for that shit, whether you're a fan of their music or not, or the way they behave or not.
Yeah. So
But
yeah.
I will say that song "Turn My Swag On" was the one song I'll admit, like I liked when I would go to clubs and I would go to parties.
Oh yeah, he had a couple songs, man. Let's not front like we didn't all dance or sing to a Soldier Boy song at one point. So everybody's had a Soldier Boy moment.
I don't think Ice T did. I remember Ice T said back then that Soulja Boy single handedly killed hip hop.
Well, that's kind of goes back to what Glasses Malone was saying something that's not hip hop. Hip hop just evolves and changes into something different.
Yeah, and like sometimes we don't like what it turned into and we're not a fan of it, but it still evolves regardless.
Yeah,
And we have to keep rolling with it because the only way it's going to keep on going and keep living is if it continues to evolve.
just like when our parents there was music that when our parents were growing up, they listened to certain type of music. And as they got older, like when it came to our generation, they don't mess with our music because they feel like it's totally off base or evolved in a different way from what they're used to. So it's kind of like the same thing where just as you get older, you may not just mess with the different. You're just used to what you're used to, and you're comfortable listening to a certain type of sound. And when things change, then you don't know how to accept it at first.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the mumble rap shit, no matter how much people like it or whatnot, I just cannot get with it. I cannot get with it.
I feel you. Me either, but there's people who mess with it, so you got to respect it for what it is.
Yeah, that's the prerogative. Yeah, that's the prerogative.
So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, but I just hope that if like Soldier Boy keeps running his mouth about J. Cole and talking shit about J. Cole, that J. Cole does to him what Ice Cube did to NWA on No Vaseline. I would love to see fucking J. Cole rip his ass a new one. You have no idea how happy that shit would make me.
Yeah, I don't think J. Cole has that kind of time. I think he's working on the album, so I don't think he will even respond to Soldier Boy. He might try to sit down and talk to him. Cause I've seen him do that before, like with Little Pump. Him and Little Pump came out with a diss song towards him, and then he tried to have a sit down interview with him or whatever. So maybe he'll try to do that, try to reach out to him and have a one on one talk with him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And J. Cole actually said that Forest Hills Drive was the best album he ever made.
Yeah, I think I would probably say that's my favorite album from J. Cole.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. It has I would say my favorite J. Cole track is on that album, Love Yours. I would probably say that. Yeah, that song is pretty dope, pretty deep song. Definitely listen to it if you haven't checked it out.
And just in general, I don't think he's ever made a bad album. Now that I think about it, I don't think he's made one bad album.
Yeah, some are better than others. Yeah, I would say. But I
But
would
but
say,
none of them have been bad. None of them have been
yeah, they
bad.
haven't been bad. I would say the Forest Hills Drive is probably my favorite. Also, the mixtapes that he used to come out with, the Friday Night Lights, and those. I don't know if you remember the mixtapes that he came out with before he was like big. When he had like I would say this was like the blog era days, like the 08, 09s. That's when he came out with those mixtapes, like the Friday Night Lights and the warm up and mixtapes like that, the basketball inspired mixtapes.
I remember probably bits and pieces of them. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but definitely go back. You could probably find it on YouTube because yeah, all the mixtape websites have been taken down, so you could probably find it on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, those are definitely dope. Some of the tracks actually ended up on the first out on his first album.
Good shit. And speaking of dope hip hop, the tribute to the late DJ K Slay came out this past weekend, and it was the video for Rollin' 200 Deep, which was over an hour long and featured 200 rappers, featuring the likes of Snoop Dogg, Sheik Luch, DMC, Paul Wall, Bun B, Twista, Cassidy, Rod Digger, Big Daddy Kane, Crooked Eye. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched maybe about 30 to 35 minutes worth of it. But yo, everybody goes in on this shit. Everybody only has 8 bars apiece, but yo, everybody brings their A game on this track. It's a fucking well done project. Very fucking well done project. Props to everybody who put it together, from everybody who spit on it, the people in the editing room. Everybody did their thing on this project, and props to all of them for the thing they did on it.
Yeah, RIP to DJ K Slade, one of the pioneers in the mixtape game, and help a lot of artists that weren't getting to shine, have an outlet and a platform to, put their music out. So shouts out to K Slade, may he rest in peace. Also, shouts out for Papoose and everything that he's done to keep K Slade's legacy alive. K Slade died tragically a couple of years ago from COVID, so from complications from COVID. So it's sad that he passed away, but I'm glad at least Papoose is trying to keep his legacy alive and put one of his last wishes together. I know K Slade's done this before. He's done like 100 deep, rolling 100 deep, rolling 50 deep. He's done songs of that nature, to this nature before, but this is the first time where he actually got 200 MCs, and like you named a bunch of the artists who are on on this track, and like it's crazy that he was able to get 200 people on one song. The song is long as shit, and you're
Over an
probably not gonna
hour.
listen to it. Yeah, the song is over an hour, and you're probably not gonna listen to it straight through. But it is dope. Even if you don't like the song, it's a dope accomplishment to get all these people onto the one song. Imagine how much time it took, how long it took to mix and master this song, and to get everybody to to spit and to record. Just it took a lot of power and a lot of energy, to make to make this happen and to put the video together and to put the track together. So shouts out to everybody who worked on this project to make sure that the song was out, and it's something to to remember DJ K Slay and his legacy. So shouts out for everybody who worked hard on that project.
Yeah, his contributions to the game will never be forgotten. And this last wish that he had, I'm glad that it was granted, because it was a great thing to see, especially with the 50-year anniversary of hip hop. It was great to see something like this put out for us. Fucking 200 MCs, 200 from past, present. Yo, that shit is incredible, son.
No, sorry not to cut you off, but it's got to be a Guinness World Record or something. I don't know who has the record for the most rappers on one
I was
song.
about to say the same thing. Yeah, this is some Guinness World Record shit. And yeah, some of the verses that actually stuck out to me most was honestly like Big Daddy Kane's, also DMC's. Hell, CeeLo brought it nice too. CeeLo fucking bodied it also.
Yeah, CeeLo did his thing. AZ, Chic.
AZ was on it. Yes, he
Yeah, there
was.
was mad people that were on it. So yeah, shouts out to everybody.
I haven't even finished it yet. There's probably mad people I haven't even seen on it yet.
Yeah, there's mad people you probably haven't heard yet, but yeah, mad people are on it. Bun B, Paul Wall, like you name it, pretty much everybody's on that track. Even like from old school to new school artists. So yeah, definitely a dope moment in hip hop, whether you like the track or not.
The beat's mad dope though. That beat is fucking crack.
It was a dope beat, yes, and it was a beat that everybody can actually spit on. So it was just the right beat where everybody can get off a quick 8 bars.
That's that Rap City the Basement type shit. That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, so it was pretty dope. So yeah, check it out whenever you get a chance. It's all over the streaming platform, so or on YouTube if you want to watch the video. So check out the Rolling 200 Deep.
But fair warning, if you're planning on checking out Lauryn Hill in concert during her tour, you better expect that lateness, which she actually addressed this past Saturday at her show in Los Angeles. And this is what the Queen had to say. They say, oh, she's late and she's late tonight. Yo, y'all are lucky I made it to this blood clot stage every night. I leave my soul on this stage, and I don't do it because they let me do it. I do it because I stand here in the name of God, and I know it. God is who allows me to do it. He surrounded me with family and community when there was no support. When the album sold so many records and no one showed up and said, hey, would you like to make another one? We're warriors, not just survivors. We're thrivers.
Okay, thank you, Lauren Hill, for that announcement. Appreciate it.
Interesting thing for her to say. I mean, she didn't really apologize for being late. I mean, wasn't expecting her to regardless, but yeah, that was a very creative response to those criticisms. What did you think?
Yeah, I just vouched for her like a couple episodes saying that I went to a concert of hers and she was actually on time. And I thought that, she would have fixed that issue, but I guess not. Look, I've heard issues with this tour already where she had to cancel a couple of dates because of her vocal cords. She did, or I guess they were strained too much. And then I'm hearing a lot of stories where she's still late late to some of her shows. So I don't know, man. Lauren's running out of chances, man. You can't be like messing with the fans like this and expect people to, pay their hard-earned money to come out and see her, especially if she hasn't dropped any new music like any, in the last 20 years. So I don't think this was a good look for her. It's not a good look for her brand and, for what she's trying to do. If she has a tour that she's trying to finish up. So I think this is her last ride, man. So get that money while you can with this tour because I don't know if you're gonna have too many people lining up and signing up to go see her anytime soon in concert, unless she drops a new project.
The only question I have is like, how late is late? Like, is she, 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late?
It's got to be long because concerts they normally have like a set time. Sometimes they release them, sometimes they don't. But you kind of know what time the headliner is supposed to come on, depending on when the show starts. So I'm pretty sure she's at least significant late. She's not like late 15 minutes. It has to be like at least over an hour late. People probably just sitting in the stands. The openers probably already went on and came and went, and they probably have like the DJ just playing music. But it probably got to a point where people just got fed up. It's been probably over an hour. They're sitting there waiting for her to come on stage. And I don't know if you've ever been to a concert, but if you've been to a concert and you're sitting there for hours, it's not really a place to sit. You don't really, it's expensive for food. You're probably, tired and antsy from being out there all day. So, yeah, definitely, it's not a good look if you're going to be late. You got to be on time, especially these people are spending all this money, hundreds of dollars to come see you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, if it's anything an hour or more late, yo, that shit is not cool.
Or at least make an announcement.
Yeah, like that's not respectful of other people's time. Like if people, let's say, for example, like have babysitters or shit they have to get to and they only had that specific time to go to the show, just to do that shit just because like you feel like you can and you can get away with it, yo, that shit's wrong, yo.
Yeah, it is so.
And if she has the mentality that like, yo, these people are gonna pay to see me regardless, I could show up 3 hours late and they'll still pay to see me anyway, so fuck it, who cares? Yo, that shit is not cool. And if these things about her are true, and if she does have that kind of attitude, then yeah, this really is her last chance, and she's really messing it up.
It's just not a good look. I don't see the point or why it's necessary for her to make that type of statement. Even if she is late, come on, start your set and keep going. I don't know why you have to say a statement like that, and it's just not a good look because the blogs are gonna catch that and chop it up and only run with that part that makes her look bad. So just wasn't a good look. It wasn't a smart decision.
Yeah, in all honesty, most of the things I've heard about Lauryn Hill in real life aren't positive. I'll be straight up honest. I've never met her myself. I can't say from experience, but most of those stories that have come out about her, don't paint her in the best light. And yeah, something like this doesn't really help her case.
Yeah, so hopefully she redeems herself on the last few stops that she has on this tour, and we'll see from there. But yeah, it's just definitely not a good look.
Yeah, one of those stops being actually right here in Atlanta 3 weeks from today. I'm not sure if I want to go anymore though.
Yeah, that's the thing because people hear these kind of stories and it makes them second guess. Like, do I want to spend my money? Is she going to be late? Is she going to cancel? Like, yeah, that's the type of questions people have. Like when they're trying to buy a ticket.
Yeah, she might be late, she might cancel, or she might cut a promo on the whole audience. I'm not trying to pay money for Lauryn Hill to talk shit to me.
Yeah, exactly. So
So King Khan, break us down with some of the new releases we have coming out.
Yeah, this is a great time of the year. I would say is my favorite time of the year. It's the fourth quarter. A lot of dope albums tend to come out in the last 2 or 3 months of the year. So this is the my favorite time of the year. Yeah, we had a lot of dope music drop over the last few weeks. And like I said, it's the fourth quarter, so expect a wave of a lot of heat coming our way over the next few weeks and months. So first project I would recommend for everybody to check out is Lloyd Banks. He's been doing his thing over the last couple of years. He took a hiatus for a few years, but he's bounced back in a major way over the last couple of years, dropping projects and mixtapes. He did drop a mixtape on Halloween. It's called Halloween Havoc 4, the 72nd hour. So has some joints on there, and is mostly Lloyd Banks. He doesn't really have any major features other than Vado, who you may remember Vado from the Cameron days when he was running with Cameron. So I would definitely check out Halloween Havoc 4, the 72nd hour by Lloyd Banks. We did mention it a little bit on the last podcast that Jeezy dropped his new album, I Might Forgive, but I Don't Forget. Has some joints on there. So classic Jeezy on some dope beats. So, and it's more mature for like I would say the 30 and over crowd. So definitely check that album out. We also have a couple of singles that dropped this week. We had Meg Thee Stallion dropped a single called Cobra, where she's going in about some of the things she's gone through over the last few years. We also had Benny the Butcher drop his much anticipated single with Lil Wayne, and Lil Wayne destroyed that track. So I would check that out. It's called Big Dog. So Benny the Butcher featuring Lil Wayne, and be on the lookout for Benny the Butcher's project that's going to be dropping in a few weeks, which is actually going to be his debut Def Jam project. So yeah, be on the lookout for 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne. They have a project called Welcome to Colin Grove, which is coming out on November 17th, also on Def Jam. And then finally, I would say this project's been out for a little while, but it's still a dope project that I highly slept on. It's called Special Machinery by 38 Special and Conway the Machine. If you want to listen to some bars, some punchlines, wordplay, if you're into that type of rap, definitely check out this mixtape or this project by 38 Special and Conway the Machine called Special Machinery. A lot of dope tracks on there. Both of them go back and forth. So it's a pretty dope project. So I would definitely recommend to check it out. Yeah, so that's all I got this week for the new releases. So check back next week on the next episode for some more heat coming your way.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to jamming to a lot of these this next couple weeks. And yeah, it's great when we have this new music available to us. And like we talked about earlier in this episode, like a lot of the hip hop maybe that's coming out now compared to what it was when we were kids, maybe it's not the same, maybe we don't like it as much, but regardless of that, there still is good music to enjoy in the modern era. And if you're too stuck in the past and you're too stuck in your ways, you might miss out on a lot of good shit that you can, still enjoy for the next 25 years. So that's why I urge many not to be so stuck in your ways and so stuck in the past that you miss the good shit that's in front of you right now. And a lot of that good shit in front of you right now is some of that shit that King Kong broke down to you. So make sure you go check out some of it when it does drop.
Yeah, definitely. So we're also creating a playlist for anybody who has Spotify. So be on the lookout for the Shift in the Culture podcast playlist, where I'm going to be dropping some of the new releases that I feel like our listeners should check out. So I'll definitely let you guys know once that's available, but definitely in the works.
Yeah, so check out for that. And also, before we get out of here, let's get into some special anniversaries.
Yes, sir.
As of our recording, today marks the 27-year anniversary of the release of Set It Off, which starred Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, who everybody hates right now, Vivica A. Fox, and also Kimberly Elise. This movie was basically the coming out party for Queen Latifah, as it was her first major dramatic role. And damn, did she bring it in this performance. Like, she had Living Single and she had other projects she did before this, but this is the movie that really established her specifically, and also the other girls that were in it too. This movie, for 4 female leads and 4 black female leads at that, this movie fucking broke a lot of ground. Like, the fact that we're even talking about this movie 27 years later and it's still as good now as it was back then, that shows you the fucking impact that Set It Off had, and rightfully so. This movie is a fucking classic. If you've never seen it, you need to go see that shit right now. And there's not enough good things I could say about the movie itself. And also the soundtrack, would featured a dope ass track from In Vogue called Can't Let Go.
Yeah, that song was dope.
So much good that came from that movie. It's hard to even describe in just one episode of this show. Yeah, much props to the people who made Set It Off, everybody who was behind it, everyone who put it together. That shit was fucking incredible.
Wasn't F. Gary Gray, who used to direct a lot of music videos, didn't he direct that movie? That movie, if I recall.
He directed that, and he also directed another movie I watched over the weekend, Straight Outta Compton.
Oh yeah, he did that one too. So yeah, shouts out to everybody who was involved and Set It Off. One of the movies in the '90s that everybody in the culture gravitated to, talked about, referencing songs. So and still referencing songs to this day. I think I heard Fab spit a couple bars about it recently. So yeah, Set It Off was definitely one of those movies that impacted the culture. And Queen Latifah definitely did her thing. You could see from there her growth and how it led her to do other movies. Vivica A. Fox was one of the best actresses at that time. And then Jada Pinkett Smith, did her thing too. So it was a dope movie. Shouts out to everybody who was involved. And you can see that, like you said, it's definitely still impacting the culture years later.
Yeah, and how can you forget one of the most influential things from that movie was the fucking mask. The mask that they used in the last bank robbery. Those fucking masks, people were wearing those shits for Halloween every year.
Oh yeah. I did wear that mask. That was the clear mask, right? Where you can't really see the person's face when they
Yeah.
have it on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
I
lot
had
of
that.
people were
Yeah.
wearing. Yeah, mad people were wearing that shit back then. It was crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. That movie fucking really impacted the culture, just like
Yeah.
Boys in the Hood did, just like Menace to Society did in New Jack. You can throw Set It Off in that same category.
Yeah, it was in that same realm. So yeah, definitely Set It Off was a dope movie, and I might have to get that mask for next year for Halloween. Might have to bring that back. So I might have to do that.
Yeah, I saw this funny ass meme on Facebook a few weeks ago saying the more Jada Pinkett talks, the more I wish she got caught at the end of Set It Off.
Yeah, I know, right? That's for real. Like she was the one. She was the one that got away. It should have been the Queen Latifah or somebody else.
Yeah,
Now that we
but
look back at it.
Yeah, but that last scene with Queen Latifah with the cops, yo, that's like one of the saddest scenes in a movie you'll ever see.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
fucked
shit
up.
broke my heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
Dr. Dre was in it too.
oh yeah, he wasn't. He had a little cameo in that movie. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Dr. Dre was in it. Blair Underwood was in it. He was Jada's boyfriend.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
Also, yeah, Queen Latifah was a lesbian in that movie too. She had a girlfriend. They didn't really do that shit back then, especially with black women. I was also a
yeah.
big part of the movie that was, influential.
Man, it might have been foreshadowing her real life. Because yeah, that's how she. Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. So wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that movie broke a lot of barriers and definitely impacted the culture. So definitely a great movie.
Yeah, great movie, and I think I'm gonna watch it after the show's over. And also, this week marked the 25-year anniversary of the Hood classic Belly, starring DMX, Nas, T-Boz from TLC, and also Method Man. And it was directed by Hype Williams. And personally, I'm not a fan of it. It's not my cup of tea. But despite my feelings and also the feelings of many others who saw it at the time it came out, the movie has still gone on to be a cult classic and it is still talked about and raved about to this very day. And I will say, while I wasn't a fan of the movie per se, the direction and the style of it was really dope. That I will definitely give its flowers to for was Hype Williams' vision for it. That was definitely a plus for the movie.
Yeah, I can see why you don't like the movie. Cause I know you're like a real movie head. You watch a lot of movies and whatnot. So I get it. It's not the greatest movie of all time, and it's kind of all over the place. But to the hip hop culture, this movie is a classic. It just the characters that were in it, the artists. We had Nas and DMX, and this was Nas and DMX at their peak. This is when they're like the most popular they've been. Method Man also. It just felt like the movie, just from the intro of the movie, I would say is one of the best intros ever. When Nas and DMX are walking into the club, and then that However Do You Want It song is playing in the acapella in the background, and then when the beat drops, and then that's when the craziness ensues in the movie. So it's just a dope intro, and I love how Hype Williams directed the movie. It felt like it was a one long music video with different parts, and I like how when they went to Jamaica, how it made you feel like you were in Jamaica, and I love the soundtrack on top of that. Like this is one of the best soundtracks that came out ever, and I like how they incorporated the music into the different scenes of the movie. So it was just a dope movie. A lot of people were in it. AZ was in it. He was also in it. Method Man, T Boz, a lot of cameos from other artists as well. So yeah, just a dope movie overall.
Also, Tyrone Turner from Menace to Society was in it, the one who played Kane.
Yeah, that was probably the best. That was one of the best characters in the movie. You
Yeah,
know, the guy was that was eating a banana in the corner. That was a dope character.
yeah, he was in it. Also, the black girlfriend from A Bronx Tale, she was in it too. I don't know if you ever saw Bronx Tale.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. She was DMX. She was Tommy or DMX's girl in the movie.
Yeah, she was in it too. Yeah, also a dope ass soundtrack, like you said. Tommy's theme fucking slaps. That song still slaps 25 years later. Every time that beat drops, I fucking lose my mind.
Yeah, that song. Yeah, that song was definitely dope. Shouts out to the Locks, and I think what Benzino was on that song too. That was Main Men.
Yeah, I think, yeah, he
His crew.
was.
Yeah, Benzino and his crew were on there. There was that song "Devil's Pie" by D'Angelo. There was Grand Finale with Nas, DMX, Method Man. I think Ja Rule's on that song. And then my favorite is Top Shotta with DMX, Sean Paul, and Mr. Vegas. Was that was like one of the first. Well, I don't want to say one of the first. I would say one of the most. I would say one of the best hip hop and reggae collaborations that I ever created. That song was just dope. And I was peak DMX spitting his ass off, and it's peak Sean Paul and Mr. Vegas when they were hot. This is when reggae was starting to first explode, and it was just dope going to just watching just listening to that soundtrack, man. A lot of dope music on there, so definitely check out the soundtrack. Even if you don't like the movie, you'll definitely like the soundtrack.
Yeah, I heard a big reason why the movie kind of turned out the way it did was because of the fact that Hype Williams was like having issues with the producers. He was always arguing with them about different shit. And also, like, everybody on set was like coming to set either late or coming to set high and drunk. A whole bunch of different drama and a whole bunch of different toxic bullshit was going on, like, while the movie was being made. So it kind of like, resulted in how it turned out. And just in general, yeah, it didn't do well when it was released. And even on Rotten Tomatoes, it has only a 20% approval rating.
Yeah, it's still a classic in my eyes. I know it's not the greatest movie, but yeah, it's still a classic. Like I said, the characters alone had a lot to do with how the movie was, and we're forgetting one of the most important characters in the movie, Lennox or Ox, who was also a reggae artist. Louis Rankin, R.I.P., who passed away a few years ago, but he was the original Jamaican Dundada who DMX was chilling with in when they were watching the soccer game when DMX was like, yeah, Jamaica is very good when it was just talking shit just to get him on his side so he can make that deal. But it was definitely a dope movie. I don't care what anybody says. I'm gonna go watch that shit right after this shit. But so many quotables, so many one-liners. It's just a dope movie, man. Just it's not even for the plot, but just as a fan of hip hop, it's just a dope movie. A lot that you could take away from it.
But I will say DMX is definitely one of the better rapper turned actors. I know he didn't do a lot of movies, but the few movies he did do, he pulled them off well. He was very believable. He was very in his element. And yeah, he definitely could have gotten a lot further with movies than he did.
Yeah, I think he was a really good actor. I think he was up there probably better than Pac as far as rappers turn actors.
Well, he had more
Yeah,
time.
he had more time. He did The Cradle to the Grave. I think a couple of movies with Jet Li, who was popular at the time doing the action movie. So yeah, there was another one also that he did.
He did the movie Exit Wounds with Steven
Yeah,
Seagal.
Exit Wounds. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so he was doing a lot of movies. I'm not sure what happened, why he stopped, but he was on the way to becoming like a big movie star. Like he probably could have stopped rapping and just done strictly movies. That's how big he was getting. Like he was getting really popular, and he came off like you said, but very believable in his characters. Like he played them really good.
Yeah, because we see a lot of rappers try to become actors, and like you could just tell it's not clicking, it's not believable, you're not buying it. But with DMX, you bought that shit.
Yeah, he definitely came off as authentic. So R.I.P. to another legend. A lot of legends in that movie. It was a dope movie. So go check it out if you're a fan of the culture.
Yeah, Method Man, speaking of which, also came a long way with his acting too. You see him in movies all the time now.
Yeah, he's on sitcoms, he's on TV shows. Yeah, so he's definitely done his thing. That's the thing with with rap, man. You can't just do one thing. Like rap is one way to get, or making songs is one way to get your foot in the door. But once people know you, it's you can evolve and do different things. This is just a starting point for you to get your foot in the door to get known. But it's good to evolve and to change and to become different things. Like look at LL Cool J, look at some of these other artists that we saw growing up. They Ice
Ice
Cube, they've
Cube.
evolved, and you wouldn't even you forgot that they were rappers. That's how much they evolved. Queen Latifah, another one. So just much props for being multi-talented, not just just a rapper. You're able to take your talents and formulate it and put into different areas. So shouts out to them.
Yeah, evolution, bro. That's what it's all about. Evolution.
Shouts out to them for reinventing themselves over and over.
And also that same week, another anniversary. This past week was the 25-year anniversary of the release of Juvenile's 400 Degreez album.
Woo, that album.
I know you're more familiar with this time frame than I am. You were a lot older than me, and you kind of could appreciate it more. So break down that 400 Degreez album in that time frame for us.
Yeah, so 400 Degreez was the first, I would say, album where like the Cash Money, No Limit, those crews when they were first coming up. I remember one of my boys, shouts out to Henry, had I think it was the first BG album. I think it was called Shopper City or something like that. So he had a couple of albums, and this is when Cash Money first came out. They had the really shiny CDs. I don't know if you remember their covers, their CD covers, but they were all had like the same kind of style to them. The No Limit CDs were very similar. They were really like glossy, and they had like a lot of shiny stuff on the front. So and that a lot of them had a lot of cars and stuff. So yeah, my boy Henry put me on to Cash Money and was playing some of their songs, and that's kind of like how I learned about Juvenile. And then I seen the video Ha, which was a pretty dope song, and I started listening to him more and more. And then this album came out, and my boy had it because he was a big South hip hop fan. So it kind of put me on to him, and I fell in love with 400 Degreez and also the whole Cash Money crew at that time. And I listened to this album, and it had a lot of joints on there. This is where I first heard Lil Wayne, Big Timers, BG, Lil Turk, and Manny Fresh also, who produced a lot of pretty much the whole album. So it was just a dope album, and it kind of introduced me into Southern hip hop, and it kind of opened my ears to another, because I was I listened to New York. That was my shit. That when I grew up on listening to, but it was good to just hear like hip hop from a different perspective. And this was one of the first albums that I heard from the South that kind of got me interested in the South and hear what they were saying and what they're about.
Yeah, I guess the way you described it, it was kind of the South version of Dr. Dre's The Chronic, where like The Chronic was like the introduction to like Snoop Dogg and a lot of the other West Coast rappers from that period. 400 Degreez was like the introduction for you for Lil Wayne and the Big Timers and everybody else a part of that crew. So, and I remember those songs being big back then, like High, like you mentioned, and also Back That Ass Up. And he was even on that song Bust Your Guns with Dragon from Ride or Die.
Yeah, that was another big song that introduced Cash Money into like a whole nother area of people, like the New York people and the East Coast. It wasn't just the South. That song kind of like expanded Cash Money's reach, I would say.
Yeah, I remember a lot of those songs being huge back then. I know I was a little younger, but I do remember hearing those songs a lot. And yeah, Cash Money in that late 90s period, they were mad popping. I remember reading The Source a couple years ago, and they were ranking like the number one rappers from like each year from the time The Source started. And for the year 1999, they ranked Cash Money as a whole as number one, along with Rough Riders. So that shows how big their impact was during that period. That shit is saying a lot.
Them and Rough Riders were the two biggest crews, dopest crews at that time. Every member, in the stable was releasing projects. So it was just a dope time for music. And another thing with the 400 Degrees album, you mentioned Back That Ass Up was a big single, but I was listening to that album before Back That Ass Up came out. Back That Ass Up was like, I think, one of the last singles on that project. And that blew up and took that album to like a whole nother level. I think it sold like 4 million it went 4 times platinum or something like that, maybe even more. And that's Back That Ass Up took it to a whole nother level and got introduced to like kind of like the mainstream, and crossed over into other areas. So that album was definitely monumental. It, introduced me to a lot of the Hot Boys, where the Hot Boys, they came and dropped the album, which was pretty dope as well. That was Turk, Juvenile, BG, and Lil Wayne. When Lil Wayne was like first, maybe like 16 years old when I first started hearing him on these songs. So shouts out to Juvenile. If you get a chance, I would check out the Juvenile Tiny Desk concerts on YouTube. Have you ever checked out the Tiny Desk concerts? Have you seen those
No,
before?
no, I haven't seen them yet.
Well, the Tiny Desk, they're pretty dope concerts. You'll have like a an artist, and he'll be like in a library with like a live band, and then just performing performing their songs like he would, but it's pretty dope. It's like a live band.
Oh,
It's like in a library.
wait a minute. I did watch it at your house a few months ago on Jordan's birthday. Yeah, I watched it that day.
Yeah, I could have sworn that we watched it together, and yeah, and
Yes,
Junior was there
okay.
too. Yeah, Junior
Yes,
was
I
there
did see
watching
that.
them. Yeah, but I would definitely check out his Tiny Desk because Juvenile has a bunch of hits, man. People forget like the late 1990s, early 2000s. Like him and Cash Money were running it, and he has a bunch of hits. And people sleep on him. I don't feel like he gets the enough credit and attention that he does. He was the pioneer of this Cash Money, and if it wasn't for him, who knows if people would know Lil Wayne to what he is now. He kind of gave him the platform, to come out and be known by everybody.
Yeah, I guess in a way, like once like Lil Wayne started blowing up and Lil Wayne started being ranked as like the top dude in the game, people kind of forgot about Juvie in that sense. Because I kind of feel like that's like when that all started, where like people weren't talking about Juvie anymore and like weren't mentioning him anymore, and he like wasn't really hot anymore. I feel like it was around that time when Lil Wayne started getting hot, so that does make sense.
Yeah, but he had hits. Slow
He did.
Motion,
Oh, slow
Set It
motion was
Off.
huge. Slow
Yeah,
motion was
Slow
fucking
Motion was a big
huge.
track. Yeah, so he had like monumental tracks, not just off of that 400 Degrees album. Like he came out with albums years and years after, and it was still hitting. The Project Chick. There was a lot of songs that he had, man. So shouts out to Juvenile, definitely a pioneer for the South and for the hip hop culture as well.
Yeah, shout out to Juvie, shout out to Cash Money, shout out to New Orleans. Yeah, they definitely left their mark on the game, and that shit will not be forgotten.
Shouts out to them.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, we have an unfortunate anniversary to get into, as this past week marked the 1 year anniversary of the tragic, untimely death of Takeoff of the group Migos. I remember it happened on Halloween of last year. Pretty much, he got hit by a stray bullet. And yeah, of all the ways for him to go, what a fucking tragedy, man. Fucking tragedy.
Yeah, it's just sad, man. Just Migos will go down as one of the greatest groups ever in hip hop, and it's just sad that I know they had their differences before he passed away, and they kind of broke up a little bit, but it's just sad that he impacted the genre. Like he changed the way people were rapping. People weren't rapping the way the Migos rapped. A lot of rappers and groups started rapping in that style, in that format after them. So, and he was the one who actually followed that style of that way of rapping and that cadence and that delivery style. So he's definitely mixed. You could tell that Takeoff and Off. I'm sorry, you could tell that Offset and Quavo are hurting, and you could hear it in their new music how they're missing the person that helped inspire them and helped push the Migos forward. So it just sucks that the way he passed and he just died at such a young age. And hopefully, you got to see how much he impacted the culture before he passed. But I feel like he didn't get to see he didn't get to feel the appreciation of what he meant to the culture, before he passed at such a young age. So it just sucks, man. But hopefully, they convict whoever they caught who did the crime, and hopefully Quavo and Offset can move forward and come together and try to still create music and honor his legacy.
Yeah, it's so fucked up that like the dude died like over a situation that didn't even involve him, because these two dudes were like
Yeah.
pulling out guns and like they were about to shoot each other, and like he walked up to one of them and then he just got hit by two straight bullets, and yeah, he literally had nothing to do with that whole situation, and now the dude's dead.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Just unfortunate, man. It's like it just passed away. Like somebody who meant so much to the culture just passed away, just like that. Like I remember, like waking up one morning and I just went online and go check to see what happened, and it said Takeoff passed away. Like I didn't want to believe it. Like it didn't feel like it was real. And then as you see, things start popping up on social media and all over, and then it starts to set in. Like damn, this is real. Like. And I just remember just going online and just reading the articles and stories because I couldn't believe it, man. I didn't want to believe that he died at such a young age. And I felt like Migos was, starting to, they were all starting to do their own solo projects and, take the next wave, the next phase of their career. And it just sucks that his life was cut short and he didn't really get a chance to give the world everything that he wanted to give. I felt like he was, starting to get comfortable and starting to come into his own and be more, more out there. He was always the one that always played like the background, but I felt like he was starting to be more in the forefront. And this happened, so it just sucks, man. It's just not a good look for our culture when things like this happens.
No, it's not. And hopefully the people who did do this and were responsible for this are, convicted and that part of the chapter is closed. But regardless of whether or not that does happen, that's still not going to bring the dude back. And it sucks that his life was ended that way. But it is a silver lining that, people still think as highly of them as they do and they celebrate him as much as they do. And that, even 1 year later, his legacy still lives on and will continue to live on for long after we're gone. That's for sure, because the way people describe Migos, they're kind of like this generation's version of Outkast with like the impact they've had and the run that they've had. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say Outcast because Outcast is a duo. This is a trio. But as far as the South, they did have a lot of influence. They sold out a lot of shows. Their song became popular where it's crossed over into different genres. So and it reached tons and tons of people. So they definitely had a huge impact on the culture. And yeah, I would say they're probably the best hip hop group in the last 20 years. I don't see anybody who's done anything as close to what they've done over the last 20 years. Is there a group that you can think of on that level?
No, no, there isn't.
Yeah. So whether you like their music or not, you got to give them respect. They impacted the culture. They changed the way that people rapped and the way people delivered their bars. And they made a lot of hit records, a lot of big records. They created dances. They created, they impacted the cultures on so many levels. Like it's hard to describe.
Yes, it is. And we've been talking about that a lot tonight. Like, where even if something isn't your cup of tea, even if somebody's particular style of hip hop isn't the one you like, you still have to give credit where it's due when they're able to make an impact, get people to gravitate towards them, and to have success. You have to give somebody their flowers for that. Whether you like their music or not, whether you're a fan of theirs or not, you have to give credit where it's due. And I give that credit to Migos, specifically Takeoff in this case. May you rest in peace, my dude.
Yeah. So RIP to a legend.
Yeah, and it's been great breaking it down with you, King Khan, about different hip hop news and different hip hop events going on in the world right now. And with that being said, King Khan, tell people how they can get in touch with us and listen to more episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, if you want to check out more episodes of the Shifting the Culture podcast, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also on YouTube. So just type in Shifting the Culture podcast and you'll be able to look us up. Please make sure to subscribe, like, follow, share, whatever, and tell your friends to tell a friend about the podcast. If they're true hip hop heads and fans of the culture, they'll definitely enjoy this podcast. And if you guys have any topics or anything that you'd like for us to talk about on the show, feel free to hit us up on our social media, either on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. It's Shifting the Culture Podcast.
Yeah, so check us out, holler at us, and next week and in the weeks to come, we will still be here talking about the different artists and events that have impacted hip hop culture and still continue to impact hip hop culture today. So until next week for King Khan, this is Conscious Kurt for another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast. Take care, have a good one, and remember, whether you're an old school head or a new school head, always respect the culture. Take care, guys.
Peace.